So thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jenny and let her do her presentation on the restructuring of the EC board and the transition part of it.
Thank you so much. And mostly Executive Council, thank you for committee, except for bringing us aboard. We're really honored to be a part of this for you tonight. I'm going to open with a quote from Harry Truman. It's nice. And then I'm going to tell you the second part of the quote because it's not very nice. So the first part of the quote is, "It is amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit." And I love that because you know what? It's about our team. It's about our club. It's not about me. It's not about any of us in particular. Unfortunately, the second part of this quote, no one actually ever says, but it says, if you can't convince them, confuse them. So hopefully we will not do that for you tonight.
Excuse me for 1 minute, Jenny. Anybody that's got their volume on needs to shut it off or their microphone because we're getting a lot of feedback. Go ahead, Jenny. I'm sorry.
We are the third part, the third tier in a structure that has started back in October. And I was in the first section. I was not in the second section. And of course, now with the third section, we brought it kind of full circle. You might wonder, why in the world did we get, and this was a great question that Ty said to me, how did we get from asking for 2-year terms to this? Because it's a major, major shift. And let me share with you how that happened. When we first started in our first team with Jim Cock as our chair, we really had an open slate. We didn't know what we were doing with the ultimate direction that we would head in. So everybody piped in on not just 2-year terms, but what other alternative leadership models and formats could we evaluate? Because the situation that changes in time sometimes isn't as inclusive for younger members, members of diversity, or really a forward-thinking platform. And we really want that for our club. So Michael Shelley, and I don't have his permission to tell you, but Michael Shelley was the one that suggested a board format like either a bank or a village council. Many board situations are just like this. They're where they are more, not quite so much knights of the round table, but of more equality in the role of the leadership, where everybody has a vote, and that vote is not a puppet vote. That vote is debated and shared, and thoughts are really filtered through that group. So we really liked that idea and thought, you know what? There are so many talented people in this club. Why would we not allow that talent to really shine through, especially for people that might not want to serve through all the chairs, then through the leadership, and a potential 14-year term before they were leading this club? Can we structure it so there's room for people to impact the leadership of this club and the direction without needing to be the president? So that really is kind of the baseline of where we began from. Next, we started with, the second team started with developing the motion. We received a message, and I think if Bill were here, he would share it. He received a message from somebody that said they were very frustrated with how the motion turned out and that they didn't feel that they had enough information to make an educated decision. And they wish that this had been fleshed out a whole lot more before being presented to you to consider it. You know what? I'll take 100% credit for that error. Our team did not flesh this out enough. We did not develop it to the point that we even understood it well. So then we get to our third phase, which you guys have asked us to do. And I asked Ty and Eric and Lori, what do you want our team to do? And because we really weren't really clear on where we were going with this, nobody could answer it in a discrete 2-sentence. It was more get from point A to point B and figure it out. So it's almost like figuring out the rules to Monopoly. So we went ahead and had our first meeting, which our team here, I love our team. I figured, how could you get this team? It was just random, but boy, did we knock it out of the park with this team. And the first meeting was awful. I'm not kidding. It was so awful. Nobody knew what was going on. And afterwards, I thought to myself, we're a microcosm. This team is a microcosm of the misunderstanding among the leadership of this club, not about leadership, but about what we're proposing. And that's, again, I'll take that on 100% as my own fault, because that means nobody was laying it out clearly to let anybody really understand it. A lot of thought, a lot of talk, a lot of figuring it out. Second meeting came around and we started to develop a true understanding of what this was really for. Where were we going with it? A couple of the big things that we're having a hard time with in our initial group. And these are the leaders of the club. So you guys have debated this already. And for us to be that clueless about what really was inside of this ultimate package, one of the biggest things was that the membership elects the seats, not the offices. And once we wrapped our heads around that every 2 years, there's going to be an election for 9 people. And those 9 people, some may have served, some may not have, are brought in based on their merits, and they're brought in based on the talents that they can bring to the leadership of this club. So once we got our head wrapped around the fact that all of the what ifs iron themselves out automatically by the election process. You could get a lemon in there. You could get a knucklehead. They're gone in 2 years. They won't be reelected. So the beauty is it's a system that cleanses itself because we have re-elections of every seat every 2 years. So let's say we get, and we messed around a little bit. We were like, okay, so Steve Jobs comes aboard. He buys an Airstream. He's like, I have a few ideas. How does Steve Jobs get to be our president? What do you do when someone like that comes in and they haven't gone through the chairs. They've never planned a rally. Well, planning a rally, being off the table, in other words, not having the cruise director be the captain of the ship and bring that rally back out of the realm of the president's rally and have it be on a rotating location team system run by the club, run by the administrative office. That really clears that up. So you bring in these people then, Steve Jobs or, the best accountant on the planet. And these people can bring these talents aboard even for short little snippets of 2 years. And maybe they want to cycle off. Maybe they want to go on. We put a maximum of 6 years on it. Why? Because it transitions really well. And let me give you a couple examples. Number one is, let's say somebody comes on and I'll just say, Tom Smithson is elected. He has a seat on the board. And they decide, Tom, you're going to be an amazing vice president. And we hope someday, maybe you might consider being the president because you have those skills. So Tom's on, and he's on for 2 years. And he says, I would love to be the president. And everyone agrees Tom is definitely the guy. So he runs again. He gets brought back onto the EC in a seat. And between the July and the August 1st reinstatement, the new board up and ramped, yes, Tom is selected by the entire IBT with his vote of 51% that he's going to be our next president. And Tom goes on and serves 2 terms. He's amazing. And then he becomes the IPIP. That's why we went with 6 years, because somebody could enter 2 years as vice president, 1 year as a president, 2 years as the secretary, transition to a vice president, transition to a president, transition out of an officer role back to the EC. I'll use myself as a second example. I have no interest in running this club. I've been presidents of things. I was a mayor. I've been president of council, president of a dental society. I don't want that. I just want to be involved, commit, put my little teeny weeny talents I might possess into this club. So I'll run for a seat. And I don't have aspirations as an officer, but that doesn't mean I don't want to give my time, talent, and treasure. So that is where that all evolved from. Now, getting into our particular focus, I laid out the report for you in a bit of a backwards order. I put the after the fact, after the transition year, as the first part, so that we really have a roadmap of where we're trying to head. And then the transition year is in the second part, because that's getting from point A to point B. And the first part of the report is what is point B? And there's, I love the number 85. When I was practicing, it was always 85. If I can get somebody 85% better I felt good about that. I'd love to say 100%, but that's up to God. 85%, that's great. If we get this to 85%, that's why we have minds and committees and the bylaws. And these are fluid bodies that can, on the go, make these minor adjustments. If our intent is the right intent, that we are removing a lot of the responsibilities that can overwhelm a president, such as a rally, and put that into a team that plans that. And if we can allow that president time to grow in the president position, because I will tell you right now, having been a president, having been a mayor, you look around on the second to the last day and you say, where did that go? 90% of what you hope to accomplish, you can't. So, and especially addressing a long-range plan. So by allowing a 2-year term and even perhaps 2 2-year terms, I think that accommodates a lot more flexibility in evolving a president and being able to perhaps address certain goals, directives, intentions, and inspirations that they may have had for their term. Now, at this point, you may have a lot of questions, and our entire team is as well versed on this as I am. So please ask any of us, because we all are as solid on this as I am. So go for it.